Oh, yeah. Jim?
Great.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Well, good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? Good. It's a beautiful fall day outside, and I'd like to call the meeting to order of the East Porter County School Corporation this Monday, October the 13th, 2025. Would you all please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a spotlight for this evening.
We do. At this time, I will introduce Mrs. Neagle, who is going to talk to us a little bit about our Little Stars preschool.
And Mrs. Thompson.
And then
I'm making her stand with me. Well, I thank everyone for inviting us this evening. In front of you, I did have a packet that was placed. That is the entire presentation. We're going to just do some highlights from that, but I hope you take time to look at that to see what our program offers. You're more than welcome to come visit. Megan is always looking for volunteers, right, Mr. McStarron?
Oh, yes.
All right.
I've been
All right.
before.
So we would welcome that at any time for you to come and take a look. We're really proud of the program that's being built. In the back here, we have, I might be out of range.
Is it on?
I can turn it on.
It might not be working with the camera program.
Okay, that's fine.
I will.
You want to click for me? You can click again.
Yep.
All right, so our program overview, we have just a 4-year-old program, so 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. And it is an inclusive program. So students that have IEPs that are coming to us, or students that may get that individual education plan while they're with us, all are invited to attend, and we meet those needs with them. We really wanted to focus on what readies our kids for kindergarten. That's the purpose. How can we get them services, offer them help, and get them ready when they go into our East Porter kindergartens or anywhere in the county or surrounding counties. So a lot of that is focused on the general ideas based on our kindergarten, our early literacy, early math, movement, music, fine and gross motor skills. So that is all embedded into what Megan does on a daily basis. Good. Like I said, we are an inclusive environment, so our students see kiddos with really huge needs, and kids that don't have any plans as of yet, but are in the process of getting tested. So it gives them a well-rounded idea of what kindergarten will be for them for next year or the year after. We do offer a full-day program and a half-day program. So Mrs. Thompson works her magic in those kiddos that are there all day, and not necessarily duplicating the AM and the PM. There are differences for our kids that are there full day. We do have 9 full day students, and then 6 that are just AM and 6 that are just PM. So we have 15 students there at a time with Megan, and then 2 assistants that are with her who are phenomenal. So that is the outlook of our day-to-day. Mrs. Thompson comes to us with a huge educational background. She taught for a while, took a break to raise her own kiddos who I think are a lot taller than even that picture. They might have passed her by now. Megan came back to us and was an aide in 3rd grade and 1st grade. And then when this preschool was on the horizon, Megan was all in before she was even hired. What can I do? How can I prep? What can we get going for this? And she is a workhorse. If you drive by and there's a minivan, it is Megan's in that parking lot. She has helped to build this program and is doing an awesome job. We're good. All right, so the curriculum highlights, again, we're mirroring off of what we need our kindergarten students, or hope that our kindergarten students know when they come in. So throughout the day, every day, Megan is working on literacy. She's working on math. We also know we have students who have never been in a school setting before. So that's a big shocker. If you have not, our teachers think about kids that have been in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. Preschool is a whole new ballgame. They may have left mom and dad for the first time ever in that parking lot the first day. That is a big deal. So that, Megan stayed with it in the first couple of weeks, but you forget how little they are coming in. So a lot of work in that social emotional realm, and just learning how to collaborate and be together as students. We have a couple kiddos who are only children, never been anywhere, never been to a play place. That is a shock when you are sharing things with 14 other students. So a lot of modeling, a lot of being on the ground, playing with them. This is how we do it. This is how we use our words. So there wasn't a set curriculum that we decided to use. In researching, obviously, Indiana Early Learning Standards were the base, but then there's all kinds of things out there that you can use. So Megan worked tirelessly over the summer. We were emailing back and forth, look at this, what do you think about this? We stole some things from other places, which is what educators do, things that worked in other schools and other preschools, but we really wanted to develop a program that was ours. Because we have successful elementaries, what do we need to do to help make that kindergarten year successful? So our curriculum is a work in progress, I would say, from what it began to what we're noticing, as the school year moves on and what our kids can do or the extra time that they might need. I'm going to turn it over to Megan to talk through what the day looks like in preschool. And then of course we have to have cute kid pictures and videos to show you a day in the life of preschool.
Sure. So our daily routine, if you would ever like to come visit, and you are certainly welcome. As the kids come in, we have 4 tables set up with different activities. They follow along with our themes or what we're learning. Most of them involve some fine motor skills. We always have some sort of Play-Doh activity or other fine motor skills for them to do. We do the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, and we do a calendar, or calendar time incorporates a lot of counting, math skills, songs, those types of things. We did get the pre-K Heggerty program, so we do that. For those of you who may not be familiar with that, it's a phonemic awareness program. It's a lot of letters and sounds and syllables and those kinds of things in preschool, and we do all sorts of movements and fun things with them so that the kids are engaged in that. And then every day after that, we do a whole group lesson very brief with little ones, but we do our specific letter of the week, talk about the sounds they make, how we write them. Early math skills this week, we're starting to talk about patterning and what that looks like. Then we move into our centers time, or as the kids would think, it's just playtime, which we have all sorts of activities in the room that they can choose from. We have a listening center, they can listen to books. We have an alphabet center where it focuses on our letter of the week, that's fine motor skills with their letter. We have a sensory table that changes out with the seasons. Right now there are it's filled with black beans and different Halloween activities that they can play and manipulate. We also have been painting. We started our easel just a couple weeks ago. We were brave enough to just start easels and paint. So we've been doing that at centers time. There's a writing center that they can explore. We leave the Play-Doh on the table, so they have tons of options, and it's kind of just an open play time. And then I also use that time to work with kids one-on-one or small groups, or sometimes just to play if they need some help figuring out how to talk to each other, socialize with each other. Some days we just play and work on those social skills. After that, we always go out for recess for 20 minutes for gross motor skills. They love the playground. We do a lot of that. Occasionally we'll do some games in the grass, races and duck, duck, goose, and all of those types of collaborative games. When we stay inside, we have a parachute that the kids love that we can take down to the gym, do different parachute games. We have snack time. The kids bring their own snack. And then we always do some singing and a story of the day, of course, sometimes too. And then at the end of the day, we end our day with either a craft that involves their fine motor skills, or at least once a week, we try and do a more kindergarten type handwriting paper. We call it their big kid paper, and they love that. We get a special sticker if they try to write their letters for, for the week. So, and then we have our lunch for our kids that stay all day, and our morning kids leave. And then after that, we kind of, when the afternoon kids come in, we start the day over essentially. But when our full day kids still participate in this playtime and the recess time and all of that with the afternoon kids. But during the parts that would be repetitive for them, that's when the assistants take those kids out to do some more enrichment activities, or just work on playing games together, doing puzzles, some of those extra things that we wouldn't have time to do in just our half day. So we have pictures, I think, coming up next. Oh, this is our Pledge of Allegiance.
It's okay. You don't have to hunt it. There's not sound.
And then there's our indoor recess time with our parachute that the kids love.
You can keep clicking, Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah. And the crafts that we've done. Music. We do have some instruments that they love.
I want to show a success story on the far right. The little guy, blonde hair. Beginning of the year, wouldn't talk to us, nonverbal, walked in the back of the room, sat in the corner. That's him in the far back. He's acclimated. We've gotten him an assisted tech device, which he can communicate with us. So, I mean, night and day difference. So if you're talking success stories, kindergarten would have been so overwhelming for him. We were able to get him in, get him acclimated, get him the tools that he needs. And that's him every day. Huge smile. Wonderful kid. This is near you. I think this is a continuation of, in the slides that are coming up, you'll see some of the dedicated days that Megan has had for the kids. Apple days, watermelon days. She spoke about sensory tables. Those are all things that change every couple of weeks to keep the interest of the kids. You can see the smiles on their faces when they see a new sensory bin, you know it, because they're all surrounding it. On days like Apple Day and Watermelon Day, in some of the pictures you'll see parent helpers. We invite them in to come and help and volunteer. As you can imagine, if you have little people at home, you know that you need many hands if you're doing crafts and things of that nature. So we invite them in as often as we can. Free choice play. There are all kinds of things for them to explore, again, working together with their peers. Kind of back on the special education piece of this with that inclusion. Families right now don't know where to go to get help prior to age kindergarten, 5 years old. So a lot of times they'll come to us and say, I just didn't know that I could get help. And that's a big piece of what we do. They come in our doors and we say, seen enough kids to know that we might need to do something here, or watch, or collect data, or get PCS involved to get testing. So we work with the families on that process because that's overwhelming. That's scary sometimes just to not know. So we work hand in hand with them to make sure that that process, if we do some type of evaluation, is done without anxiety on the part of the family. Students that come in with an IEP already, we do service that. Megan is teacher of record. She's dual licensed with that special ed background as well. So she works obviously with the kids on the day-to-day, but also manages those speech and OT, PT services that our students have. As I talked about briefly before, parent involvement is huge. You know, we know and understand that those parents are giving us their best. That's scary at 4, to give us their kids. So we know that inviting them in and letting them know what goes on in the day-to-day is the best thing that we could do to help that, that relationship between school and home. So Megan also, if you see her midday, you're going to see her talking to every family as they are picked up and giving them kind of a short synopsis of the day. So that communication is happening every single day. And finally, are they ready? So a common assessment has been made to kind of judge that, again, piecing together things from other schools and the state of Indiana. Megan will meet just like our other grades do here in the next couple of weeks for parent-teacher conferences. And then more importantly, at the end of the year in May, to have that conversation, are they ready? Is it the best move to go to kindergarten? Do you need another year with us? What would be best for your child? So constant communication with the parents to help them make that big decision. So we're really proud of this program. We know it will grow. I think in the last week I fielded 4 people that are asking when are signups for next year, or hey, they're 3, can they come? Not yet, when they're 4, but obviously the word is getting out about the success of the program. So we're excited about that. And again, I thank Megan for her hard work and patience with 4-year-olds all day. I welcome any questions. Megan welcomes any questions that you might have about the program.
I think it's pretty exciting, and we've talked to people too. You go to activities and very complimentary to know what's going on in the preschool at Morgan. And it's always the hope that here's a school environment, and they could go some other places, but it's not really a school environment. So
Right.
I think that's a double thing. So that's
Absolutely.
exciting. So thank you.
Yeah, we've had some that we've met with. So can we come here next year? I'm hoping so. That's the goal.
I follow your Facebook page, so I already knew you guys were having a lot of fun, and I hope that there will be 3-year-olds there one day.
What's the cutoff age? What date do you use to determine?
We used 4 by August 1st. Yeah. And there is such a difference between 3 and 4. It's drastic, especially if you think just turning 3 as to a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference. 2 almost different curriculums that you would need to take part in.
So is the hope if there's some students that have to repeat, like that aren't ready with this assessment that you guys have created, would they do a second year with you guys? And okay.
That is the hope.
Okay.
Yes. And obviously that would be something where Megan would know those kids are in that second year. Hopefully it's maybe more of an enrichment. I know where they left off. Let's push them. We know those deficits that they're not quite ready for K, but we can fill those gaps with them.
Are the students and the parents, are they from Morgan Township or all over the place?
All over the place.
Okay.
All over the place. We have quite a few: Morgan, Washington, Couts, La Crosse,
Valpo.
Valpo.
Wow.
Yeah, so we spread all through the county for sure.
You might have already answered, but is there bus service for that?
Only if students have an IEP. If it's written into their IEP and they're from East Porter, we will bus them here. So we have two kiddos that take advantage of that.
Well done for the first year. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Good job. You're welcome to stay the whole meeting.
I'm gonna stay, but I told Megan she might want to scoot. She's got boys waiting to be fed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Next on the agenda is public input,
Thank you.
and there are two chances to speak this evening, and there are two sign-up sheets here. One's for the public input on the general meeting this evening, and then there's another sign-up sheet to speak or talk about the GEO bond. So I only see one person signed up to talk about the business meeting. We just want to lay out some ground rules here. The meeting of the school board is conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the school corporation in a public setting. And that business includes budget oversight, approval of personnel reports, policy development, and direction of the school corporation. So now is the time to hear from our community as we are now beginning this public comment. And please note that this is a school board meeting held in public and not a school board meeting held with the public. That distinction means that while we welcome your input, we are here to conduct board business and not answer questions or interact in a back and forth dialogue. There's a few ground rules. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and it doesn't look like there's multiple individuals, so we won't have to worry about repeats this evening. Any derogatory remarks or direct disrespect toward any board member or staff or teacher or student, and we won't tolerate that. And the event that this does occur, you forfeit your time and may be asked to leave the meeting. So please be aware that personnel matters are not addressed during this meeting. As discussed, the specific employees are not appropriate in a public forum. So I have one individual, Lacey Earl. Lacey, you're from Couts and teach in Washington
I do.
and all over.
Well, all right, so I want to apologize first, because I'm going to speak and run, and I don't want to be that lady, but I have a very pressing PCC volleyball match across the driveway here in a second, so I'm going to speak and run. But I wrote it down so I could stay true to the 3 minutes. So hello, my name is Lacey Earl, and I teach your dual credit business classes. I teach first and second hour here at Couts, and I teach 4 through 8 hour at Washington Township. I'm speaking tonight out of my deep concern regarding the temporary contract that the teachers union passed last week. First, I want to clarify that I am not in the union. So I had no input or representation in this contract. In fact, I only became aware of it when it was posted on the East Porter Facebook page. My primary concern lies with the new wording under the AP and dual credit stipend section. The phrase per unique course was added by an AP teacher who served on the bargaining committee. I like to believe this addition was made without realizing its unintended consequences. While it may not affect most teachers, it will significantly impact a few of us, at least 3 that I know personally. In my case, this change will result in a loss of approximately $6,800. Under the new language, I would only receive credit for 6 of the 13 classes I teach this year. Because the contract only counts unique courses, anything I teach at Couts does not count again at Washington Township. To put that in perspective, many of my classes earn 6 to 9 college credits for each class they take with me. And because of state requirements, my schedule and workload amount to 13 classes per day. I'd be happy to provide a detailed breakdown if needed, because I'm sure that math is probably not mathing in your head. But I want to be respectful of my 3-minute time limit. While losing nearly $7,000 is a serious concern to my family and I'm equally worried about the message this sends to AP and dual credit teachers who go above and beyond every day. What incentive will there be to teach at multiple campuses? Why will I come back and teach at Couts next year? What incentive is there to offer multiple sections of the same course? Ultimately, this policy will impact students as fewer classes are likely to be offered. My current classes are full. I range in class size from 15 to 27 students throughout my day. Every stipend I receive represents real, meaningful instruction time for students earning free college credit. This new contract, as written, penalizes AP and dual credit teachers and limits opportunities for our students. I strongly urge you to consider the wording in this contract, either by removing the per unique course as it has been in the past, or at minimum, changing it to per unique course, per unique campus. Even though I caution that still, it would help me, but there are my counterparts, it will not help, and I still think that is unfair to them. Please take time to carefully consider the long-term impact before approving this contract. Thank you sincerely for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And, we certainly understand what we have to run up, so good luck to the team.
Thank you for your time.
Next on the agenda is a public session for the tentative agreement with the teachers union. Case.
So basically, just to go over the summary of the tentative agreement. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the board members that participated and the teachers. We had great discussion and conversation going back and forth. The tentative agreement starts the teacher salary at $48,500, which is an increase of $1,000 from the $47,500. $900 will be added to the base salary of the teachers. New law requires that 10% of the base increase has to be due to academic need. So there is a possibility of an additional $100 for the academic need. For the literacy endorsement, teachers will be getting an additional $100 one-time addition to the base, and that's going to be part of the academic need as well. The other part that we had to discuss was the board approved a new tennis coach this past spring. And so the tennis coach will be receiving $1,540 to be equivalent to that of the golf coaches. Boys middle school volleyball, being that the IHSAA has now sanctioned boys volleyball, and it's just not a PCC thing. We are looking at having it similar to what the girls volleyball was. There was not a boys volleyball coach that was under the responsibility of the varsity coach, but being the seasons kind of coincide. The volleyball coach for the boys middle school is $1,119, the boys varsity $2,940, and the JV $1,640. Line 74 and 93 from $2,140 to $1,640. Basically, that was the discretionary fund that the different schools had. And looking at leaves, basically in years two, last year it said that years two, teachers would get 8 days for sick time and 3 personal. Just in making it simple, it still totals 11. It's going to be 7 and 4, which gives more flexibility for the teachers for that business or personal business day. The other part looking at is the buyback of sick days. If a teacher has accumulated more than 180 sick days at the end of the year, the district will be paying them $75 for those days. And once they retire, if they have over the 180 days, it's $100. For personal leave, that's the next thing. It basically goes back to, instead of 3 days after year 2, it will be 4. Detention, the stipend has been, or the hourly rate has been increased to $20. Distance learning has been increased to $425 per the unique course, and the dual credit / AP has also been increased from $350 to $425. And then there is also the increase to $13 per hour for athletic contests for the certified staff who work those. And that basically summarizes what the tentative agreement is. which I believe the teachers did ratify last week.
Yes, sir.
This is not being voted on this evening.
Not for the board, no, this is to meet the statutory requirements that we have to publicly say what the TA is.
So we next have a work session on October the 27th.
There will also be a business section. Yeah,
Before the,
before the work session.
okay.
And at that time, it will be presented for the board to ratify.
Can you please, give us a little bit more information about the language that was changed regarding the unique course, that Mrs. Earl had brought up?
Sure. It was brought up by the teachers. There was concern about the number of students inside of the classes because we had teachers that were teaching an AP class that had 20, 25 kids in it. And then because of scheduling, we had teachers that were teaching 2 AP classes of the same class that may only have 7 or 8. And so there was concern about how to find equity in that.
Can you explain a little bit more about how to find equity in that part of it?
That was what the teachers wanted, being that they were teaching the same number of kids or more. They were teaching more kids, and they deemed that it was more work to do that, so they asked us to consider that as a change.
So essentially, if, and just correct me if I'm wrong, if they're teaching 2 of the same course, previously, for I don't know how many years this was, they would receive a stipend for each time they taught that course, and now
Correct.
that is going to be no longer, and that's
If
affecting.
it's the same class, that is correct.
Right, so like for AP psychology, for example, if there was a teacher that was teaching 2 AP psychology courses, they started off at the beginning of the school year thinking that they were going to be getting that stipend, and now with this language, that would be taken away. That's,
Correct, according to the
okay.
agreement.
Have you considered any type of memorandum of understanding for those teachers that are teaching 2 courses, or like Mrs. Earl had stated, I don't know her schedule exactly, but where they were expecting to get those stipends because they've been doing it for other years, and then now that's being taken away?
There was conversation about that. Yes,
A
there was.
memorandum of understanding?
Correct.
Okay, so will they be receiving that
They will
stipend
not.
still?
Because if we did that, then there would also be a memorandum of understanding for the changes of the distance learning to go to last year's stipend. Because that's what we have done in the past, is if they did that, but at the same time in having conversation and bargaining with the teachers, it was decided that it was in the best interest just to move forward.
What percentage of the district teaches, AP dual classes that have more than one section of it? Do you know?
I do not know the percentage
Okay,
of
I
that.
believe it's a pretty small percentage, so this, teachers, I understand that they did vote on this.
Correct.
But as Mrs. Earl had stated, not all of them are in the union, so they can't vote.
Correct.
So, that does concern me as a member of our community and as a board member, that, this is going to essentially kind of push those teachers that had previously been agreeable to do more than one section and do all this extra work, that work is no longer being valued in the way that it has been in the past.
Sure, but the other part that we have to look at is in doing labor agreements, we came to an understanding with the labor union, and there's only one group that we can bargain with, and that's the exclusive representation.
Right, and I think that that's what's being left off here, is that since it only affects a small percentage of teachers, that they might not be in those conversations, or maybe even overlooked this, as Mrs. Earl had stated, maybe it was overlooked. Is that something that we could look into deeper? Because we pride ourselves on having these, a high rigor and top schools in the state. And I would hate for this to have a negative impact on our students moving forward if then less AP classes are offered for dual credit because they're no longer getting that stipend they've come used to, having as a part of their salary that's now being taken away 9 weeks into the school year.
Noted.
Okay, I just want to follow up. So in teacher negotiating, in the discussions, it was realized that this might have this impact on
Yes.
a certain number of teachers.
Yes. And it was brought up.
I would just like to say that teacher negotiations, I thought it was a great group of people. Jennifer Scott from Washington Township, Jen Chowney, of course, from Washington, April Tressel Smith from Oregon, Natalie Wake from Couts, myself, Vanessa Moore, Audrey Starr, Mrs. Nelson, and Dr. Case here. And I question if anybody's going to be losing $6,800. I just don't see that.
When we ran the numbers, there is no, everybody is, well, I want to make sure that I say this correctly. There is nobody that is losing on that particular part. And even the situation that was presented tonight will be a net gain and not a loss from last year.
Okay, well, thank you. Next on the agenda for this evening is the consent agenda consisting of item 3A, approval of the minutes executive session. Item 3B, approval of minutes business and work session. Item 3C, financial matters payroll. Item 3D, financial matters claims list. Item 3E, approval of the personnel report. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
I'll second, Stacia.
Yes, Stacia, I got you. Mrs. Terpstra. Any discussion, questions, comments?
I have some questions. In our new board policy 1102, there's a number of things listed for our board ethics policy. And one of the things that on here is that we should not be making decisions without having all the information. Were we given all the information regarding the claims list and the personnel report?
I guess I don't understand what you mean by all information.
So I had requested specifically some information on the claims list, which in the past, I don't know, and this is probably a separate question, but on the claims list, there have been times when I've asked for invoices.
Itemized invoices, correct.
Correct, and I've gotten those invoices. However, this time I was not provided the line item or invoices when I had gotten those in the past. So has there been a policy change on that and why I wasn't given that information?
You are correct. If that is the case that you're asking, no, we did not give you the line items that you requested earlier today.
Right, okay, so, but you had stated that there has been, I mean, I can read it.
No, I stated that it is not common for us to give line items for certain invoices, and that if the board wants to change that policy, you are more than welcome as a board to
There's
make that.
not a policy in place that prohibits it, so I've gotten
I
it in the past.
apologize. In the email, I did not say policy, I said practice.
Okay, well, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because right now we're looking to approve the purchase of a vehicle due to certain things that were on that claims list.
Not on this
Not on the-
consent.
Not on the consent agenda? There's not a claims list that you're asking for us to approve on the consent agenda?
There is not a,
Vehicle.
did you put the vehicle on?
Well, no, but if they're related to one another is my point. And so you had stated the reason for the vehicle purchase, which is later on in the agenda, was because of these claims that are on the consent agenda. So I
That you
had
have the
asked for,
totals for.
I have the totals for them,
Correct.
but I don't have the line item on them. And I've asked for that in the past months ago and was given that. So that's my question is why has that changed?
I was not aware that you received them in the past.
Yeah, I received them in the past.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, we're making a pretty big purchase based on these claims. They're related. So,
But the total is there.
I understand the total is there, but the line item would give us all the information, which according to policy 1102, which was just passed in August, we should not be making, decisions unless we have all of the information. And that was a very small amount of information that I asked for.
Noted.
Gotcha. Were we given all the information that we requested regarding the changes or the personnel report?
I don't know what information you're referring to?
So there was some information that was requested regarding, some resignations on the personnel report. And the board was told that we were not privy to that information. Is that correct?
Some of that, correct.
Okay. That's all the questions, Dave.
All right, then, there's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 3A, approval of minutes, executive session, item 3B, approval of minutes, business and work session, item 3C, financial matters payroll, item 3D, financial matters claims list, and item 3E, approval of personnel report. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed, same sign. So motion passes 6-1. The next item is 2025 GO bond additional appropriations hearing. So this item on the agenda is for the board to hold an additional appropriation hearing on the proposed bond proceeds. There will be an opportunity for the public. We gave the public the opportunity. No one has signed up to talk about this. The notice of the additional appropriation hearing was published as legally required. And we're going to open it up for public hearing, but we did not have anyone that was interested in speaking. So thank you for those that haven't said anything but would like to later. So first thing I'm going to ask for is Kim to speak on the first issue here.
So the first item A is the adoption of a reimbursement resolution. And so this is just the school corporation, if you have to pay any preliminary costs related to the project in advance of receiving the bond proceeds, we need to reserve our ability to be reimbursed from the bond proceeds after closing. The Internal Revenue Service requires the school corporation declare its official intent to reimburse as documented in the resolution in order to reserve this ability to reimburse.
Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the reimbursement resolution? So moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I would ask all those in favor signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed, same sign, but 7 voted yes, so the motion passes 7-0. And next is adopt additional appropriations resolution. And again, Mr. Davis, I ask you to speak on that.
So the school board must approve the appropriation of the bond proceeds to be spent on the project costs before any bond money can be expended. Unlike appropriation of tax dollars, additional appropriation of bond proceeds is not required to be approved by the DLGF.
Short and sweet. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the additional appropriations resolution? So moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Terpstra. Any discussion? No, seeing none, then I'll I'll ask for the question to be approved. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion passes 7-0. Again, Mrs. Nevis talking.
So exhibit C, yes, the final bond resolution. And this establishes the amount to be borrowed, the maximum term of repayment, and maximum interest rates. It also contains details about the bond, such as the form of the bond. This resolution also approves the forms of a third supplement to master continuing disclosure undertaking and the registrar and paying agent agreement. The Securities and Exchange Commission requires that the school corporation enter into a master continuing disclosure undertaking before it issues bonds. The school corporation has entered into this type of agreement previously. It basically requires that the school corporation agree and then provide certain types of financial information to the SEC's online database and provide notice of certain material events.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the final bond resolution? So moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second?
A second.
Second. by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion? I see none, then we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by raising their hand here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have action items. And 5A is approval resolution 2025-9, micro purchase thresholds for use of federal funds.
This resolution, our current micro purchase rate for our corporation is 50,000, but each year we have to approve a resolution specifically for our federal funds so that we match that rate or that threshold for our federal funds as well.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for approval of resolution 2025-9, micro purchase threshold for use of federal funds? Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Discussion. Any discussion?
I see that this action item does not have an attachment with it. Was this something that you sent out, or was this in the slideshow that was presented to us at the last work session? There is an attachment?
2025-9, right?
Any other discussion? So if there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. All those approval that want to vote in favor of the action item 5A, approval resolution 2025-9, micro purchase threshold to use of federal funds, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 7-0. Next action item is 5B, approval of resolution 2025-10 for appropriations and tax rates.
So just after the budget hearing list, we were just asking for your approval for those rates and expenditure amounts for 2026.
Do I hear a motion for item 5B, approval resolution 2025-10 for appropriations and tax rates? So moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of item 5B, approval resolution 2025-10 for appropriations and tax rates, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 7-0. Next item is action item 5C, approval of resolution 2025-11 bus replacement plan.
So we're just asking your approval of the bus replacement plan as it's been presented the last 4 meetings.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval of item 5C, approval resolution 2025-11 bus replacement plan? Moved by Mrs. Terpstra. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by my good friend, Mrs. Starr. Any discussion?
I have a question, and I know I've asked this in the past, but is there a reason why our buses seem to be costing significantly more than our surrounding districts?
Again, this is an estimate, so we budget high. There are different school districts. Some have different types of buses than we have. Some have a program where they go through an outside service for the
Right, I
buses.
know.
There's a lot of different things that go into play. We get those bids depending on the bus. You know, if we're replacing a special education bus, that's more cost versus a minibus. Some schools in the area only use minibuses. Smaller buses, there's a lot of variables that go into it. These estimates, we have not gotten our 2024 buses. Sarah told me today we will not see them this year still, so it'll be 2026 before we see them. There's tariffs that have come into place since we placed those bids, so estimating high and trying to protect our money and make sure we have that set aside so that we can pay for the buses that we get when we actually get them.
And I noticed that we have a very specific type of bus that we seem to buy for like our everyday, not the special education bus, but like the, so I mean, have we looked into some of the other districts and some of their other buses? I know some of them are, I know the ones at Belleville, I think are propane. So they're a different price.
Structured.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that we should, but I do know that there are differences, but I just wanted to know, you know, have we looked into other comparable buses that run on gas?
Urban's bids then the different types of buses when we do buses.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Kirkland's bids it out for different types of buses that are available. There's not that many options for us.
Is that because we're a smaller school or?
It's because we have a large geographic area, we have to have, yes, fuel buses, and there's not that many suppliers that make those buses.
It's run through the state procurement site.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of action item 5C, approval of resolution 2025-11, bus replacement plan, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-1. Next item is 5D, approval resolution 2025-12 to adopt the capital projects fund plan.
So we're just asking for approval of the capital funds plan and working on the last couple of months.
Do I hear a motion for approval of resolution 2025-12 to adopt the capital projects fund plan?
So
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Terpstra. Any discussion?
did you provide, any of this information in a slideshow or anything that I've seen or?
It was like the last meeting.
Right, and we were told that we were gonna be sent that slideshow, but that was a little bit different than this. I was never given, I don't remember ever being, provided with that slideshow afterwards. I know it was really difficult to see from where we were sitting.
It's from last one.
It's in the minutes.
Sorry.
Okay. I
It's
just,
actually in this meeting too, it's in.
I saw it on this one, but I didn't see it and I wasn't really very much time to look it over.
These are credits, and we talked for several meetings. You weren't at all of them, so it's during some when we were planning this, at the board had input in all those projects that we were looking to do.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, then call the question. All those in favor of item 5D, approval of resolution 2025-12 to adopt the capital projects fund plan, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed, same sign. 1. Motion passes 6-1. Next action item is action item 5E, approval resolution 2025-13, flexible benefit plan.
So this is a resolution that we're asking you to pass. There was an increase in the maximum allowed deduction for dependent care. And so we need to pass a resolution to allow that max deduction for our section 125 plan through American Fidelity. So this just allows our employees, should they choose to take a deduction for their dependent care, that we can take out the maximum allowable rate.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval of resolution 2025-13, flexible benefit plan? Moved by Mrs. Terpstra. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion?
Can you just provide us a little bit more information about what this means?
If the employee takes a deduction out of their check, so they step money aside into a plan for dependent care.
Like for like an
children.
HSA type of an account or
Or for dependent care, so for their children. For childcare.
over childcare? Okay, got you. Okay.
Childcare, medical expenses, doctor visits, prescriptions.
Is this available to all employees?
Or the section 125, yes, they all meet with, they're required to meet with Jim Martin, our American Fidelity rep every year.
Any other,
Not everybody loves it, most people don't, but we do want to with them.
any other discussion? That's seeing none, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor of action item 5E, approval resolution 2025-13, flexible benefit plan, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, motion passes 7-0. Next is action item 5F, approval of resolution 2025-14, Walmart/Sam's Club credit cards.
So we kind of had a perfect storm of things falling apart in the purchasing world for the corporation in the current sense of when we make purchases. We received notification last month that our Walmart cards that we currently have are going to be obsolete at the end of this month, and so we need to move to their new payment method. So Walmart has changed from their business account to this Trevi Pay it's called. And so to be able to make purchases at Walmart, we would need to sign up for this new payment plan, which can come with some physical cards, but also can allow for online purchases through Walmart. We don't use those a lot in the schools, but we do use them for like fax, consumable items that people right away they go out and get quickly, and perishable items that we can't order online. At the same time, we've been using the current Walmart cards that we have at Sam's Club for our ECA accounts. So when they need stuff for concessions, things like that, they've been using that credit card there. This new payment option will not work at Sam's. So to be able to continue to do that, we would have to open new cards for Sam's as well. This kind of comes at the same time. I'm just going to throw this in here, not part of this memo, but just some information. We also use the online platform SpendBridge for our purchases through Amazon and School Specialty and Office Depot, all those things. The state has been paying for that platform, and we are no longer paying for it. So that will be available to us at the end of this month, or probably tomorrow, actually, unless we are willing to pay the fee. So $400 for that platform for the year. So I'm asking for approval to be able to open these Walmart and Sam's cards so that we can at least continue with those payments and figure out the other option of SpendBridge replacement going forward. Again, these cards will be stored with the treasurer and each of the buildings, and then here with us, and then we'll have to be signed out our policy to be able to use them.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion for item 5F, approval resolution 2025-14, Walmart/Sam's Club credit cards?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Moore. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Is there discussion?
I had a question. Why do we use Sam's Club? Was it just because it was linked with the Walmart?
Why do we use Sam's versus like Costco? Choice. Chris.
Affordability, I mean,
Is it?
yeah,
Okay.
when you compare and variety for concession stand items, anything from candy, hot dog buns, nachos, those kinds of, yeah. And bigger variety.
I appreciate that.
Any other discussion? Questions? If not, then I will call the question. All those in favor of action item 5F, approval resolution 2025-14, Walmart/Sam's Club credit card, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 7-0. Next item is 5G, first reading of policy 5101.
Before we go, I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Nieves for all the time and effort that she has put in. You'll notice that those first agenda items have all been hers. And it's just, she has spent a lot of time in putting all that together. It's been months actually. So I just want to say thank you. In front of you, you have policy 5101 is, we worked on our last work session. Basically just talking about some of the tweaks that we need to make for online classes. And tonight is nothing more than just to present it for the board, for your pleasure, but there will be no action on that tonight. The other one is second reading and the approval of policy 3101, 6130, 6135, and 7020. Before we go to it, actually, I'd like to make an amendment to that proposal. This afternoon, I received an update from Julie Slavens on the quarterly policy. And one of the items that she's looking at is 6130. And so I would like to pull it before we have to go through and make changes depending on the new updates that have come through. So I'm just asking the board to approve 3101, 6135, and 7020, which is the student meal accounts, exposure plan, and then the chemical use in school buildings.
Before we call for a motion on the second reading, I have a question about the first reading
You betcha.
that has come to me since our work session.
Okay.
If the online course is taken during the school day and it's not directly under the supervision of a teacher that teaches that subject area, for example, the student is taking that online course during an SRT.
Like an independent study?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do they have to be in the building? Because I know I'm going to be asked that by the public.
So is the question that, let's say they take a second period?
I understand if they have classes after that, but like if it's the last class of the day and then SRT and they're a junior, senior, why would they have to stay when they can?
For SRT?
Right. Because if they're a junior.
I don't know.
We have policy that says they must be enrolled in a full day of school if they're going to participate in any extracurriculars. So they have to be participating in a full day of school. So that would be one.
However, we do have, I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Because I know that we do have early dismissal for juniors and seniors in SRT as long as they're in good standing.
Right.
And so if they're doing it as a SRT, could that be considered kind of like a 0 hour or something along those lines? Because and I know even with what Mrs. Earl was talking about, some of her classes being that they are college credit, they roll over into SRT. Mm-hmm. And so I don't even know if those students are necessarily staying the whole time, because then the question would be, what's the difference? Yeah. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, and then the other thing is it says the cost of materials will be charged on textbook rental form. So that verbiage is, what, I'm sorry?
It needs to be student fees because we don't have textbook rental anymore.
And then the cost of the class is $35. Is that every class across the board is $35, or is $35 in addition to the cost of the class?
If it is coming through the online academy or through Edmentum, it would be $35 because if they're getting a credit for it, it's just like a registration fee, bookkeeping fee. It's not for the actual class.
Okay, so the class could cost the family in addition. Like if it's something the school's not paying for, then it would be the cost of the class plus the $35.
The way that it's currently set up, the student is not necessarily paying the whole fee on that particular part if it's part of their day. Because the only reason that we would allow that is if it's something that we can't offer and it's needed. It's not like, for example, somebody goes, well, I want to take ASL. And then we go, oh, sure, go ahead, take a, because we don't offer ASL. And so then they wouldn't be, it wouldn't be accessible. So it's got to be something that aligns with what we currently already do.
Okay.
Great questions. Thank you. So we have a first reading here. Would like to hear a motion then for the second reading and approval of policy 3101, policy 6135, and policy 7020. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Terpstra. Any discussion?
I have a question about, I know this was brought up before, but, policy 6135, the, student meal account, specifically the line about referring the family, if they have a negative balance, that they would be referred, a report would be made to Child Protective Services. Can you tell us a little bit about the reason that we would do that as opposed to perhaps, you know, if we have a feeling that this family is, you know, unable to fund their lunch account, what other types of programs do we have that we can refer them to as opposed to reporting this to the Department of Child Services? And please keep in mind, I do have a decade of experience of working for Child Protective Services. I don't think that this is a report that they would investigate
So
on its own, right? So, you know, in the spirit of that and trying to look for what we can do to help these families that, you know, perhaps don't have the money, do we have a social worker that could work with them to apply for free and reduced lunch, or is there anything else that we could do? Because this seems very,
We do everything we can to try to get them to pay their lunch or to get them free lunch. We would love for them. We have encouragement from every angle. We put in our newsletters, we send applications home. We do everything we can to try to get the little type of food reduced and make that program work. The counselors have stepped in and helped when we needed that. We need to talk to the families. If people can't pay, we have reached out numerous ways to try to get donations and help them make, and get donations for the balances. This only comes into play, or would only come into play if it was a neglect situation where we were reaching out. We were asking parents, we have students who their parents won't fill it out, won't return phone calls, won't tell us, you do not feed my kid, do not feed my kid, do not feed my kid.
well, I
So
think
in
that,
those
well, that's
situations,
different than
that
if
is
a
what-
parent is saying not to feed their kid, but I mean, in this policy, the way that it's written, it sounds like this, you know, I'm just, you know, fearful that this would come in, this would, you know, sort of go in place of all those other support things that should happen first before a phone call. So
What is the line that you're looking at, where?
it states, if a student repeatedly comes to school with no lunch and no money, food service employees must report this to Child Protective Services and the school principal, as this may be a sign of abuse or neglect. But before that, I mean, I could read all the rest of it, but it states that, you know, that they're going to be given an alternative meal and all these other things. So I just, you know, would like to see something more in place, perhaps maybe even a different policy about, because I understand that, you know, we're sending them things, we're doing all these other things, but like, is that consistent with each student? Is each student treated different? You know, I mean, this is this line in here, you know, on its own, the student coming to school without,
Repeatedly, back to school with no lunch and no money. What,
I guess repeatedly, that's kind of a vague.
what number would you like? What number do you think would be applicable?
I don't think that we should be contacting the Department of Child Services for negative lunches unless there's other, signs of abuse or neglect.
No, I can understand that. Now, isn't it though they're not eating? I think it says.
Well, no, I don't.
Lunch and no money.
But we are offering them an alternate meal of a cheese sandwich, fruit, vegetable, and or milk. So it sounds like, and it also states that no student will go without a lunch meal. So they're still being fed a school lunch.
I mean, if to be honest, I mean, I have a problem with that part of it. I mean, we let kids take their tray when we get to the end, and we're gonna say, no, never mind, you don't have money in your account, put it back, and we're gonna give you a cheese sandwich. That doesn't seem to be a good option to me. Generally, by the time they've already got on their tray, they get the lunch anyway, because we're not gonna make them put it back. We're not gonna do that to a kid in the lobby.
Yeah, it says it won't be taken from the student.
And if you're still, you guys are, the policy, I mean, not you guys, sorry, the policy says that we're still supposed to charge them something, but yet we're not gonna let them go past the negative amount. To me, it's a contradiction. If you're still charging them something anyway, you're still, I don't know the original intent for, putting that language in there, maybe there's something that is saying in that part, but.
I just don't, this on its own, I can tell you, based on my experience, this isn't, a parent not funding their lunch account is not abuse or neglect on its face. So I don't think that that should be something that should be in our policy with regarding funding the school lunches. There can be other programs, community partners is a program that we could refer families to. I mean, there's lots of different other things that we could do if we feel that this family is, has come on hard times or things like that. But putting something in here that we're gonna contact the Department of Child Services just based on what is in this policy just does not, it just doesn't seem right to me.
I don't disagree with wanting to do that. I don't know that.
But it's mandated reporters.
Right.
But mandating, okay, so mandated reporter to report abuse or neglect, but is having a negative lunch account on its face considered abuse or neglect? And I would say no.
I think we have that responsibility. They can always screen it out. If we feel that a situation has risen to a level of abuse or neglect based on the lack of lunch money or food, that's our responsibility to make that call, and they can screen it out.
If you get a situation, just like Kim said earlier, you're giving them an opportunity to fill out for free and reduced lunch, and they're not cooperating in that. That means then there's no lunch and no money. Like, it's a pretty.
But they're still getting a lunch.
The question that the statement here says that a student repeatedly comes to school with no lunch and no money. It doesn't say that they're not getting food and they're
Right,
not
no, that's what I'm saying, but
because
they're still getting.
having a negative balance. The statement states if they're not bringing the lunch and they're not getting money for the lunch, that may be a sign of neglect. I'm not saying that it is, it says it's may. And so therefore, to make sure that we are erring on the side of caution, that's to CPS then, or DCS to screen out. And that way we have taken off the necessity of making sure that we're reporting what we deem as possible. It doesn't say that it is abuse, it says it may.
Okay, have you contacted anybody that works with our contacting them and utilizing their resources there? Okay.
If the superintendent or principal called me and gave me a scenario where they're not getting a response from parents, the kid hasn't had a lunch or food in 10 straight days, I would recommend calling DCS, making a report, because I've seen the flip side of that where administrators or teachers have been charged with not reporting a crime or not reporting. And so, again, I agree with you. More likely than not, it's probably going to be screened out, but they're also not expected to go to somebody's house and maybe you show up at their house and there's other things that open the door to why they're not coming to school with lunch.
I just would like to have seen that we would refer them to, like I said, a nonprofit agency such as Community Partners or something like that, as opposed to jumping to this. It seems it's never been in our policy before. We were gotten in trouble for, it seems very, DCS comes knocking on somebody's door, it changes their life. I just would hate to see, us to be jumping to this when,
This isn't something new that's in this policy. This has been in this policy, right?
They come knock down the door and it might change life if something's wrong, right?
No, not necessarily. No, I mean, it's very jarring when a family, I've knocked on hundreds of doors as an investigator. It's not a pleasant experience for a family to have to go through. And I feel like we should have something in place, possibly separate from this, that we're, as opposed to like, we're sending all this, we're doing all these things, like, where's the data, I guess?
Well, it is currently in our current policy. It says if a student repeatedly comes to school with no lunch and no money, food service employees must report report this to
Right.
CPS.
But I didn't vote on that policy. I wasn't on the board then, so I'm bringing it to the board's attention now.
Would you, so what I'm hearing from you though is that you'd rather not err on the side of caution. You're saying hand.
It's not about erring on the side of caution. It's about not jumping to making a phone call to the Department of Child Services for abuse or neglect when the issue is just not, I mean, are we doing that when I understand that we don't charge families for textbooks anymore, but we used to. So are we calling DCS when they're not paying for textbooks? And I don't think we were.
I think eating is.
But they're still being
Eating
fed.
goes to neglect though.
They're still being fed at the school. The families know that.
But isn't it your responsibility to be in charge of your child and take care of them? You're financially
It is,
responsible.
but if there's a way to do it, like, for example, it's not neglect to not have water in your house, like running water, it really isn't. And as long as that family has a plan to get the water, they know that they can get the water from a neighbor or whatever, still not neglect if they don't have electricity, as long as they have a way to keep their food cold and things like that. Like, there's just,
I wouldn't want my client explaining what you just explained to a prosecutor or an investigator. I agree with you. But I wouldn't want the line to be that close for my client. There's always these what ifs. I think this is, again, repeatedly coming to school with no lunch and no money. And you're right, there are nonprofits. There's also a huge nonprofit called the federal government that subsidizes this. And if they're not cooperating to the level of providing sufficient information for that, that may be a sign of neglect. I think that's all that this policy.
or it could be a sign that they don't speak English or, I mean, I know that I've seen that as a teacher at Washington before. We had a family that wasn't cooperating, but there was a language barrier there.
I think,
We have all the applications available in Spanish. And
Some of
other
them are not as
options, right?
resourceful as others.
We also have a person that can translate and talk with those families too.
And again, that's why I said like the data and having perhaps a flow chart of what we do prior to jumping to.
You're making valid points. I think what has been reiterated to schools across the state is they're not the ones to make that decision, that DCS's decision. And you're probably, I've been on all sides of this as a lawyer, where DCS has stepped in when they shouldn't have and vice versa. I think the message that the state has given the schools is, if you think there's a modicum of a fact that may support abuse or neglect, you are mandatory that you have to report it. So
We do have a motion and a second so I'm gonna call the question here. Any other discussion? I think we've discussed this a lot here. So I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor of approval of policy 3101, 6135, and 7020, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same sign for opposed. So motion passes 5-1. Next item is approval of vehicle purchase.
So looking at, in front of you, we are looking to trade in and upgrade our silver van that has been used for transportation. It was brought up earlier in regards to looking at some of our mileage reimbursements in a way to curb expenses. We may need to update and upgrade that. We are currently working on a better way of communicating who's utilizing what vehicle and not necessarily assigning them to specific departments. Because there are times like the black van over there sits, because technology primarily uses that one and so on and so forth. And in doing so, we are looking at purchasing a vehicle. We started dialogue with our directors this morning because we have option to go something like the Equinox that we currently have, or there's also a potential of getting like a cargo van that would be able to utilize to transport things between the 3 campuses and keep stuff dry. And so we are asking the board to give us approval up to the threshold of $37,000 to make that purchase.
Do I hear a motion for approval of vehicle purchase? There a a motion for approval of vehicle purchase.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Starr. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion?
I don't know if anybody else, I don't want to dominate, if anybody else has anything they'd like to say first.
So how many fleet vehicles do we have currently?
We have an Equinox that gets signed out for teachers and staff to use. However, Mrs. Steffel is the one that primarily uses it for the mail run. It is my understanding, and Kim, you're gonna have to help me with this on the insurance. I believe that we have 3 pickup trucks, one located at each of the different campuses. We have a dump truck. And then we have a black minivan that is primarily utilized by technology, and then a silver minivan, which has a lot of mechanical issues and concerns that is utilized by transportation.
So this would be replacing
The silver van.
the transportation van.
Correct. But we'd be in talking with our directors today, trying to do a better job of not necessarily assigning specific vehicles to specific departments. For example, if the black van is sitting out there, we could be doing a better job of moving that back and forth. We had purchased a blue truck in efforts to, because we use it for plowing, but then also with Mr. Kenworthy being able to go back and forth. However, Don and Mitch have been doing a lot of mowing between the campuses and different stuff. And so that has kind of gone to that direction, which would have given Couts the dump truck to drive if they needed to go to Menards or different things along those lines. So we're just looking to update, because I'm told that that van is pretty sketchy, and to like take it to Gunners to pick up drivers and buses and stuff would kind of be a stretch. And it currently has to be, correct, has to be stored inside too, because it doesn't lock. And we've had problems with wheels and what.
Extra tools in it.
Yeah.
The transportation department right off the campus.
What would be the cost to repair the locks on the van? Has that been looked into for to lock? Because I did have a vehicle that had an issue locking before, and I got repaired. Yeah.
I don't know what that cost would be. It is my understanding that it's more than just the locks. There's also, they don't want to take it long distances simply because, correct,
How many miles are on it?
I do not know.
Okay, because I had requested via email, the maintenance history for the 2010 van, because you had said that it's in the shop a lot. Was there any reason that couldn't be provided to us?
I don't know when you sent that request, and if you did, I apologize.
Yeah, it was,
Did
you
I
responded
respond to
to,
that?
you did, but you didn't provide me with it because you stated that the current reporting structure is designed for board oversight and approval, not managing operational details, so I wasn't privy to that information. So it's really hard to make a decision based on not having a lot of insight on these big purchases.
Is there hope to sell the van, or like what would be the hopes with like, or scrap it, or somehow, get, like, what would be the hopes?
We'd probably try to trade it in, or not that we'd get anything for it.
Do we have, and forgive my ignorance, do we have like an auto shop?
We do not. The Career Center has one, but.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of action item 5I, approval of the vehicle purchase, signify by raising your hand.
Sorry, could I request that we table this until we get more information? Or is this an urgent? Where are we at, Ken?
We just called the question.
Okay. Okay, that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The risk would be not.
The not locking and the unreliable, and okay.
No, that it would be available from Halloween. Gotcha. Talk about it again.
All right, so All those in favor of approval of action item 5I, approval of vehicle purchase, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pose same sign. 2. Motion passes 4-2. Next item, action item is 5J, approval of human sexuality curriculum materials.
So, per Indiana Code 20-30-5-17, school boards must review and approve all instructional materials related to human sexuality prior to classroom use. So, about 10 days ago, I provided you links so that you could take a look at what our middle high has proposed that they utilize, also what our elementary has been using for a very long time for their boys and their girls kind of body changing conversations. Those happen in separate spaces. Parents are given options to opt out of those if they choose to. Also, as a component of this, we send notification home to families to allow them to, at the beginning, it starts as an opt-out. They have 2 options to do that. If they choose not to opt out, by the end, it says automatic opt-in, unless a parent sends something to opt out of that. So we give a lot of opportunity. Also, once the board makes an approval, these will go on the website to also be available for parents to review per the law and the requirements. So we're just asking for your approval of those materials.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval of action item 5J, approval of human sexuality curriculum materials?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Starr. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Any discussion?
Is there any hopes to update this? I know
I know I brought up, Mrs. Moore brought up a video that was a little more outdated, so I let the teacher know, so she's gonna be looking to see if she can find something that may be different or more updated. So she was gonna be looking for that information. I think the teachers are constantly looking and looking for appropriate materials and whatnot. Is that what you meant by that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And if that would just come, if the teacher finds an updated and appropriate, then we would just approve that one at a later meeting, or is it every year?
I'm not sure about that, if we have to do it every year, or if if one video changes, and I don't know about that. I will have to find out.
Any other discussion?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of action item 5J, approval of human sexuality curriculum materials, signify by raising the hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 6-0. Next item, action item 5K, approval of Washington Township Elementary boiler replacement.
So we're asking the board to approve the purchase and the installation of new boilers at Washington Elementary. These would be purchased with the remaining bond from the construction. You can see that Mr. Kenworthy's got multiple quotes, and so we are asking the board to approve the ones from Circle Lock.
Do I hear a motion for item 5K, approval of Washington Township Elementary boiler replacement?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Starr. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Any discussion?
Well, I'm just curious, there's a huge discrepancy between these bids. And I guess one of my questions is the only reason we're replacing them to make them more efficient, or are we actually having issues with them?
I know that the efficiency is a big driver. However, to say that we're having problems with any of them, I know we've had some challenges, but I don't know the total
We're not
answer.
having any big issues with them. They're more than 20 years old, and we're just looking to kind of make it more efficient and save some costs on our gas usage by upgrading and kind of being proactive in that.
Was this on the 2025 budget thing? Forgive me, because I didn't pull it up in front of me.
It was not.
It was not, because it's being purchased out of bonding and not out of operations. And this isn't out of the GO bonds or anything. This is the construction bond that we have at Washington Elementary that has to be used for Washington Elementary specifically.
I guess I will admit that I didn't. So the quote's only valid for 30 days. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
So last time we met for the work session, you had presented us some information regarding consolidation, which you referred to as restructuring. If we're not quite on board with how the future looks for East Porter and that tentative type of discussion that you were having and presenting to us at the last work session, I know personally it makes me a little bit uneasy to approve something as big as this when we don't really know what the plans are for the future and how buildings will be restructured or if we're going to be using them or how that's going to be looking. So if you'd like to provide any additional information on your, what you see as far as like, if we were to replace this boiler system, what would happen if a year from now, 2 years from now, we didn't utilize that building anymore?
Then I wouldn't, whether you use the building or not, that's a board decision.
Right, but I mean, it doesn't sound like it needs to be replaced. You're trying to be proactive about it, correct?
I mean, it's old, right? It's 20 plus years. We know that it's like, getting towards the end of its life as we move more in years, right? We know that it can bring us some operational efficiencies, which would save on our gas costs, which allows us to save money out of operations versus paying for this out of a bond. We also have the bonds, right? So we took them out for a purpose. This is a 22 bond. So we need to have it encumbered by the end of this year, have a decision what we're going to do with those funds. Otherwise, we start getting more penalties as it goes longer because we don't take bonds just to hold them and keep them in our cash reserves, right? We want to do these projects with them. Whether or not this is the right one, it was up to you guys, but we have the money that needs to be spent in that bond. And so this is kind of in evaluating the building, this is the best use that we feel can be used for the rest of this money. And so, we have gained some interest. So the project started, in 22. So we've gained interest on this, the original bond amount, and we're over that, right? We have money to spend and we've done their original project and things. So it's just kind of finishing this up. We've done the playground, those kinds of things that we were hoping to do with that money.
Well, I noticed on the capital projects list, though, the roof replacement is on there too. So that geo bond could be
school.
The elementary is already,
It's all done. The elementary is done.
And this bond is only for elementary.
I guess my question is, do these two boilers feed both the new addition and the new addition? Is there a separate boiler for the new addition?
I don't think there's a separate one. I think that they were all feeding off
of the
because we had the capacity up at that time. So it's not, if memory serves me correct, I don't think that we added an additional, well, no, because we added a chiller, not a boiler.
So the price of the boilers feed both parts of the building.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of action item 5K, approval of Washington Township Elementary boiler replacement, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed, same sign. So I voted for. Okay, so motion passes 5-1. Next is action item 5L, which is approval of vape education.
So at the last work session, Mr. Fields had sent to me the vape diversion program that Ms. Kula was here to talk a little bit about. And so we are asking the board to just approve the East Porter vape diversion program as we presented at our work session.
Do I hear a motion for approval of item 5L, approval of the vape education? So moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion?
I do have a question. Did this cover, and I don't remember in the in the presentation if this also covers if they're smoking cigarettes? Or is this, I mean, or are they only vaping at this point?
This is strictly vape.
So if it was cigarettes, it would be something different.
There's not currently a diversion plan, and I can't recall in my 2+ years here of having a cigarette infraction.
Okay.
And in my 28 years, I'm thinking I can't recall a cigarette infraction.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
If I may speak once more.
Yeah.
8 years of being a school resource officer, I've never written a citation for a cigarette. The smoke is very pungent and strong, and the kids know that. And that's why they go to the vape versus the cigarette.
My only question is this strong enough?
What do you mean, ma'am?
Like, do you feel that this will be enough of a deterrent?
I have talked to a couple of students that have done the program, and they said they learned things in there that they didn't know, that how bad it does affect their lungs. I feel it assists. I can't say it stops all of them, but I definitely think that it can scare most of them enough that it's effective.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the vape education program, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 6-0. Next action item is.
So before we get there, I do want to say I apologize for not recognizing that Officer Knapp was also here for that presentation.
It's okay.
Because now that he was speaking, I was like, yes, he was there as well. But and the other part is some questions came up in regards to the fuel contract extensions. So I'm gonna be withdrawing that and be bringing it back to you at a later date.
So this is being tabled.
While it is being withdrawn.
Okay. And then the next item is action item 5N, approval to dispose of items.
So in front of you, there are 5 different lists of different items that the athletic directors, principals, and directors are being to requesting to dispose. So we are requesting that you approve it as listed.
So I hear a motion for item 5N, approval to dispose of items. I hear a motion.
So
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Starr. Any discussion?
Can we, and, I don't know what the condition or what some of these items are as far as cameras and things like that. Are these completely non-functional, or is this something that we can sell back to the community to perhaps fundraise, like some of the kitchen equipment, for example, or just like this list of Avalon cameras? Are they completely useless, or can they still be utilized perhaps like in, like in like a rummage sale type of a situation?
I do not know. I have not evaluated them. I know most of the items that we put out have traditionally been past their useful life, or what is that term that they use, end of life?
It can't be updated in any way.
Correct.
But even if we sold them for like $10, maybe something, I mean, again, I don't know what these are, so I'm just.
Sure. And we have had sales in the past, and then they really hasn't attributed very much. I bet Mr. Martin can talk about different items that he's purchased from some of those sales. Unfortunately, we don't see the interest that they used to do.
What about just even like scrap metal? Like, I mean, this big, the kitchen equipment, looks like there would be, when you guys dispose of it, do you take it and sell it for the scrap, or where does it go?
We have taken items for scrap,
Okay.
but on this particular item, I don't know.
According to contracts, he does say intention to sell the scrap in the back spots. That is his intention to those. If you look at the disposal of the back equipment.
Okay, and I was looking at the kitchen equipment. The estimated repair would be $4,000. I just wondered if somebody in the community would be willing to purchase it and then maybe wants to fix it, or a different, business or something. And I know that usually when we are disposing of things, there's like, certain things, like I think a month or two ago, there was like old equipment or even the bus that was on Washington's property for a while and it was like,
Scrap
we knew,
metal.
yeah. So for this, there was just so many on here that it's hard to, that's the reason I had the questions about it. But so when they dispose of them, with the exception of the one that's being scrapped, they just dump them and.
Well, if it's electronic, we usually work through a recycler, because we want to make sure that we're being, eco-friendly to the environment.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, sometimes the items are scrapped, for scrap metal, sometimes they are recycled, and sometimes they're just disposed of.
So you don't think that
I
for the
will-
other items, the rummage sale are like trying to get back some money that could be used for something else would be?
At this particular point in time, that would not be my recommendation, simply because we don't have the storage space to store a lot of this stuff. So we are also trying to clean some of those storage areas out, because I hear frequently from our buildings and our directors, they need more storage space. And so if we were to do something along those lines of an auction and a sale, we don't currently have a place to store all that kind of stuff.
Any other discussion?
I had a question about the books. The books that were beyond repair, have they already been replaced yet? 'Cause that tells me that they're probably being read quite a bit, right?
We're looking at doing that with current funds in our purchasing. I think that should have been sent forward
Thank you.
and looking to get permabound rather than paperback, but there's added expense to that.
Any other comments, discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of action item 5M, disposal of items, signify by raising their hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion passes 6-0. Next item is 5-0, approval of overnight field trips. And I believe we can take this as one.
Right.
Yeah, so we have a Washington Township field trip, a Washington Township senior trip, FFA field trip, and Washington Township Student Council trip.
Move to approve.
Or any of yours working?
No, second.
It's crash. We just crashed.
Or that's.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we're all looking at each other like, wait a minute.
So
I printed it out. Bob, thank you for the suggestion for printing everything out. Appreciate that. I've done that. Do I hear a motion for approval of the overnight field trips?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFall.
I
What?
think Bob moved
There
it.
you go. Moved. Oh, okay, Mr. Martin, yeah. And second, you're seconding, I understand. Mrs. McFall. Any discussion for the overnight field trips? Seeing none, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor of the overnight field trips, Washington Township field trip, Washington Township senior trip, FFA field trip, and Washington Township Student Council field trip, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 6-0. Okay. Next action item is item 5P, approval of South County cook-off donations.
So every year there's a South County cook-off, and it is hosted by the Love Thy Neighbor. And again, this year they have donated $1,000 to each of our buildings to be utilized at the discretion of the building level administration. So that's 1,000 times 6, so $6,000 because have been donated because of the South County cook-off.
I saw Liz there and her family. It's quite the activity. I mean, we involve students and everybody else in the community. It's a great community, and the people that barbecue have been there year after year after year, and it's just a great event. So do I hear a motion for approval of South County cook-off donations? Wow. Who is it? I'll say Mrs. Starr. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Who just Natalie? Mrs. Bauer's. Is there a second? second by Mrs. McFalls. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor of approving the South County Cook-Off donation signify by raising the hand. Motion passes 6-0. Now we're hitting the landing of the airplane almost. Closing items. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, then we'll move on to 6B, additional items from Dr. Kate.
Yeah, I was looking there.
Those are in the packet.
Bless you. Thank you. So. Sorry. Turn it on in. All the more thousand. Okay. So, yeah, normally at this time, we would just recognize those individuals.
Right.
We'll make sure that they get thank you notes. Unfortunately, I do not have the ability to access them. So, but at the same time, I just will recognize and express appreciation to the generous people that we have in our community that continue to support the different activities that we have in our schools. And that is all I have for you this evening.
Okay. In that case, then I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Starr. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor of adjourning for this evening, signify by raising their hand. 5, 6. Is there anything else? The motion passes 6-0 to adjourn. Is there anything more people have to sign? Just me? All right, thank you. Thank you all for participating. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah.